You see black people in modern forms of media. You see them in sports, you see them on TV, you see them in video games. Hell, you even see them in Congress, even though that's about to change. But you think this is representation, right? Not saying it's not. But it's all a lie. It's an illusion. Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, welcome for the first time. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe only if you like the content. So like we've said in the intro, black people, we have a lot of so-called quote unquote representation in this country in terms of being visible, but we don't have representation in power. See, we could be visible. We could be out there entertaining you like we have in sports or movies, but we're not the ones signing the checks. We're not the ones actually with the power to be able to control the narrative. See, what we understand in the black community is, sure, we may have stories that are told about us, but we're not the ones necessarily telling those stories in most cases. So I got a couple clips today, got quite a few clips actually, and we're going to tackle 3 aspects of this. We're going to talk about black people being represented in entertainment, black people being represented in the nerd culture, and black people being represented in politics. So I got some clips. We're going to dive in and go from there.
Our representation in movies and TV has got to start being more than just trauma, comedy, and some bullshit ass diversity toss up just to meet some corporate quota, bro. Like, the shit is fucking tiring. I'm tired of seeing fucking commercials with just black people just thrown up in there just to say we a diverse company and show that they diverse. Or I'm tired of the only stories we get is us overcoming an ass whooping, or us making a fucking comedy or some shit, bro. And I know it's getting a little bit better, but I can still tell that these companies ain't really letting black creators go completely free as they should. They just asking for their input and inputting some of their ideas. Like Disney, for example, pissed me off all the fucking time. It's damn near been fucking 15, 20 years since Princess and the Frog, bro, where everybody in that motherfucker was actually fully black for the most part, until they changed that motherfucker into a frog. And that's what Disney is so known for. If there's a movie centered around black people, they turn them into some type of animal or some alien, or they take them out of their human body and change the representation somehow mid-movie. It's fucking bullshit. Like, and all the black trauma movies, all our uprising movies are just based off us getting our ass whooped. Like, there were more real Django Unchained and Nat Turners than they would like to lead on, bro. It's just fucking annoying as hell. Like, and every time when it comes to black superhero movies, we get a black superhero movie every, 4 or 5, 10 years or something. Thank God we're getting Black Panther and Blade in a couple years, but where the fucking Static Shock at? Like, it's fucking wild, bro. The shit just don't be making no sense to me. I know it's better than definitely what it used to be, but it's definitely not where it can be for sure.
And he has a point. He's accurate. I remember the movie The Princess and the Frog, where it's like, yeah, for like roughly 25 minutes into the movie, then she's turned into a frog throughout most of the movie. And it's like, yeah, he's right, because looking up historical movies, they do turn us into animals, because during slavery, like man, they don't like when I do this, but during slavery, that's all they ever did was try to dehumanize us. I mean, they literally told us we was 3/5 of a person. What the hell is even that, right? So they've always figured out ways to dehumanize us as an excuse to be able to treat us the way that they do. And Disney and all these other conglomerates and companies and everybody else who's run by a white man or woman, mostly white men, they don't look too fond on black representation. And so when they do so-called give us a chance or give us a shot, they do little sneaky underhanded tactics, bullshit like this. I mean, there were many critiques about The Princess and the Frog in particular, for Disney's first princess. different aspects of showing why does she have to be a superwoman when the other white princesses are born into royalty, but she all of a sudden has to work hard. And it's like it reinforces that negative stereotype of black women having to be superheroes. And it's all these little subtle jabs, all these little things that they do when it's them trying to write the stories, because this is their narrative. This is their view. When they write stories about us, they're telling us and the world what it is that they actually think and feel about. What it is that they actually think and feel about us. And it shows. This is why we fight for power, to try to get that creativity, fight for our creativity, to be able to write our own narratives and not the ones that they try to serve up, because it's bullshit, honestly.
Like, it doesn't still have a huge problem with race. When was the last time you watched a movie where a black man ended up with a white woman?
Guess who's coming to dinner?
They actually remade that movie and recast Sidney Poitier's character with Ashton Kutcher.
No.
See the reverse all the time. Zach Braff can date a black girl on Scrubs. The only black friend on Friends can date both Ross and Joey. But Will Smith can't end up with a white woman.
He does in Men in Black.
Agent J and Morgue woman. They're romantically tied, but you never even see them kiss. And then in Men in Black 2, you know that they broke up because that's when he falls for Rosario Dawson. Because Hollywood is still totally cool with a black man ending up with a Latina woman. Like Eva Mendes and Will Smith in Hitch. Or Denzel Washington and Eva Mendes, again, in Training Day, huh? Or Will Smith and, wow, Rosario Dawson, again, in 7 Pounds. Unless you're making a point about race, white women cannot be with black men. In movies.
You know what else white women can't do?
Jump.
Get shot in the head.
Now, this is something I've seen being pointed out in our community a lot. Okay, I've seen so many black people on social media, as in real life as well, point out how the representation that we do have, or the representation that they quote unquote give us, it amounts to on their terms. Like, we can't see strong black families unless they're in bondage, or the father is being unalived off screen, or on screen for that matter. But they promote a lot of interracial couples. Like, I've noticed it before I seen people talking about it on social media. It's like, wow, we can't see 2 prominent black people. Like, this is what I've seen. And again, the people who are going to have a problem with this particular video are the ones, they've always saw themselves in media. They've always saw themselves in TV or any other format. So they've never had to have these discussions, and they don't take notice to it because it's like, well, you're overrepresented. So the only time you notice that there's a difference is when you see one of us on screen. But in terms of the interracial thing, they seem to be promoting that a lot. They do. Some people would say it's propaganda or an agenda. Could be both. It could be that, oh, they're just trying to blend the races, whatever it may be. But black people have taken notice to these type of things. It's literally like, say, whatever representation we get, it's like it has to be on your terms or on their terms. This is why black people are fighting every day, every single day, to be able to get that power and be able to control our own narrative, to be able to write the TV shows we want to write for ourselves without having to always include some white person to go along just to put them in the show. It's like, why? You seen that with Everybody Hates Chris. It's like, oh, so your best friend just happens to be white, or okay, whatever. It's like they always do that. Or the guy in the Black Panther movie, the white agent or whatever. It's like, why are you shoehorning him in here? Like, so, we notice these type of things. And again, we get criticized. The critique always comes back to, well, they won't say this out loud, although some of them will, because they're that idiotic and brazen. Why does it have to be an all black cast? Are you kidding me? Because throughout history, anytime they put one of us on TV, it was for some gag reel or to dehumanize us, or to put us in a stereotypical role as we're the help, we're a gangster, a drug dealer. but never just showing actual black people just living their lives and existing. It's like it's hard for them. They refuse to even show just a black couple. And the other problem that we have, the other problem that they've noticed and they've capitalized on, is we have a colorism issue in our own community, right? So if you do cast someone black, it's like they would probably take someone my complexion. And it's like, well, we have a lot of other beautiful, dark sisters and brothers out there. The person doesn't always have to be light skinned. And this is coming from a light skinned man. Okay. I would love to see more dark skinned brothers and sisters in leading roles. I would love to see that, because to me, that's a more true representation. That's just me personally, right? Nothing wrong with being light skinned. No, I don't hate the skin I'm in. That's going to be some of you all's criticism. No, I don't hate myself at all. And, you know, truth be told, I'm just saying I'm light skinned for the sake of the video. You know, I'm really kind of golden, you know. Neither here nor there. But still, my point remains the same. It's almost like they refuse to show beautiful dark skinned brothers and sisters being together on screen in a positive light, because that's the other thing. You can put these two on screen, but then it's always got to be chaos or some type of friction, or leads to them breaking up and then her finding a white man or some stupid shit like that. This is what I mean. They cannot be responsible, meaning they can't write the narratives. Like when we start to see things, if it doesn't look like us in terms of, if it doesn't seem realistic, we're able to spot it immediately.
Either read or is told something that Michael B. Jordan did. Michael B. Jordan is become a major star.
Yes, sir.
He walked on the set and said, "I don't see enough black people here. I want to see more black people here." More black people were on the set after he said that.
We hear the same thing with Beyonce and some of the shoots she does. I want to see all black photographers, all black staff, and it happens. So I get it.
Yeah. So I mean, it's like, it's about power and understanding power. You know, the one thing I learned from Clarence Avant is what power is and how to use power. You know, artists do not realize the amount of power that they have. You know, Beyonce is using it in the example you just used. Michael B. Jordan is using it. LeBron is using it. That's the hope. That's the hope that we're starting to see.
Okay, so
and there it is, the power that these entertainers have. You have the power to be able to put more black people in your movies, or put more black people in your videos, or put more black people in jobs behind the camera on your set. Black people are starting to utilize that power, because it's like, well, if I'm gonna be out here entertaining, I want to put my people on. I want to feel at home while I'm doing it and have a true sense of representation, whether it's in front of the camera or behind the camera. That's what we mean by having power. And there'll be people that disagree with this take. There'll be people that disagree with the sentiment and ask, well, why does it have to be that way? Why do we make everything about race? And it's an easy answer for that. We didn't make everything about race. White people did, because white people created the system, and the system made it about race. There's a reason why people have to check a box, right? And we're not just talking about whether you committed a crime or not. There's a reason why you have to be identified a certain way in this country, right? We didn't make it about race. You all made it about race when you passed legislation that exempted black people from being able to do certain things in this country. But a simple Google search will help you understand that. But I'm glad more black people are starting to utilize their power.
Black entertainment is on the cusp of being exactly what we did to the fashion industry. We dictate what's cool and what's not, whether people want to fucking admit that shit or not. Hip hop dictates a lot of what's cool and what's not. When Allen Iverson came into the fucking NBA and he had the aesthetic, everybody wanted to do that shit so much so the NBA had to change the fucking rules. So we dictate the pace of all this shit, and it's good to know that we are finally stepping into our power and making shit happen.
So now I want to move on to the nerd portion of the video. I consider myself a blurred, by the way. Not high up there like some of the blurreds who love to cosplay, and I intend on doing that one of these days, believe me. But being a nerd in this country, being a nerd in America has never been easy for really any group of people, but it's been especially hard for black people.
The only time I see the general public caring about historical accuracy in medieval or fantasy media is when it's an excuse to be racist.
Because the real fantasy is having no black people. Obviously, that's not how all fantasy fans feel, but there's a large number of Renaissance Fair attendees and D&D parties that are huge fantasy fans because they can get rid of black people on demand. They just take the stuff black people had to experience in reality and turn it into the backstory for a fictional species. And ironically, some fantasy readers and video game players care more about racism when it's fictional than when it happens to actual people. And if you don't believe me, go on Wattpad or AO3 and look at how many fictional species have more entries written about them than literally any black person. But historically inaccurate hairstyles, armor, and locations don't bother them one bit, because it will always be the world of their fantasy as long as black people aren't in it.
Now, Tony Weaver Jr. is someone who I've kept up with for quite a long time. I love everything this brother does, like for real. He's like, I want to say the poster child for blurredism, but you know, there are a lot of prominent ones out there as well. I'm just using him for the sake of this video, but he's absolutely right in terms of, I've seen comments, and Tony Weaver Jr. has done plenty of content talking about this exact thing, about how white people in the nerd fandom will get upset when they see black people cosplaying. Well, this character isn't black. Well, I'm sorry. You know, I like the character and, you know, I can't change my fucking skin. So I just wanted to do the character. I wanted to dress up as the character. It doesn't fucking matter because it's all make believe. It's all makeup anyway. It's made up. So what the fuck difference does it make? It doesn't matter. And you know, sorry, but I get a little passionate about this. And then you get, you know, idiots online. Well, I want to play Martin Luther King. Martin Luther King can be white. Martin Luther King was an actual historical figure. He was real. He was a real person. And when someone is cosplaying, they're cosplaying fictional characters most of the time. And again, so what does that mean? What conversation are we really having here? Are you simply saying, because this one character exists, but my skin doesn't necessarily match their skin, I can't do it? Well, what's the difference if a fucking person dresses up as a dragon or a dog? The dragons aren't real. Dogs are. Like, I mean, Tony was right. Their fantasy, when they dip into these fantasy realms, their main fantasy, a lot of them, and it's not true for all of them, but a lot of them is the fantasy to just not be around black folk. And that's the truth. They don't want to include us in anything, but then they won't leave us the fuck alone. Like, they always watching and spying and trying to get into our spaces. Because I'm in a few blurred groups, and you get the occasional white person who slips through the cracks, who gets in that group, and is immediately kicked out. And people will say, well, that's wrong. No, it's not. It's blurred. It's a blurred group. Black nerd. You're not a black nerd. I'm not going to get upset if there's a white nerd group. Fine. Keep your shit. I don't even want to be a part of your shit. Because why would I want to join an all white nerd community when I can guarantee it within the first 5 seconds of me being in that group, I get called some type of racial slur? So being a black nerd, being a blurred is it's pretty fucking difficult because we're constantly getting attacked and they won't leave us alone. It's basically just being black.
That's where the dream started. So I think we all kind of, you know, if you ever been black and a nerd, we've all had this moment where what you loved, whether it be comic books or video games or anime, you realize there was a severe lack of you in that industry. We seen it, and it was just like, okay, I realize that this stuff is made in Japan or this is made in Holland or whatever, but after a certain point, it's like, okay, we start seeing a repetition of lack of diversity in stories. And then when we finally see that one character that they token in, it's like, okay, it's written wrong, styled wrong, the hair is off or something. It's just off.
Right.
You can tell we didn't make it. Right. So pretty much when I was a kid, I want to say like 8 or 9, like this is when the dream and the mission started, because I was playing Super Mario, Final Fantasy 7, I think back then was early 90s, like 97, Mega Man Legends. And I love video games so much, but I just didn't see us. I didn't see our stories, our community. And that's where the dream started. So I would write out these little fantasy stories of like just black people being detectives, or like magical girls. The same, I feel like a lot of us nerds did, in whatever medium we loved.
This perspective is shared throughout most of the entire Blurred community. I'm telling you, like so many of us have had that exact same thought. It's like, whoa. It's like we love the medium, we love the idea, we love playing video games, or we love comic books, or we just enjoy the fantasy realm. But it's like, it's exactly what he said. We just didn't see us. And for those of us that are creative, we've been doing this for years. I was essentially a blurred before it was even an actual term, because I'm on the older side of the millennials. I know many black nerds, blurreds, who were designing their own comic books, making their own characters, and they were black. And it was like, man, this is great. Now, whatever went on to become of those things, whether they got published or whatever, that's yet to be decided. But what I'm trying to get at is, we've always had that drive to want to see us represented in this fandom, but it wasn't as mainstream as it is now. And so everything that brother said, spot on, factual. I felt the same thing. The people in my nerd group felt the same way. And the beautiful part about today is the internet is everywhere and everybody can post anything, and it's become popular. And I'm actually happy to see it.
The worst thing when it comes to talking about black representation, let alone that, just black culture in general and nerd culture, is that when you talk about how black ideas and black creations are often sidelined and left in the dust, you always got some nigga or multiple people, respond to you trying to do oppression Olympics, or straight up just being ignorant dorks about it, and refusing to understand or comprehend the nuance of black creations constantly being ignored in these properties. I mean, they know they're doing this shit, they just don't give a fuck. That's the thing. They don't care. They don't care about you. They don't care about niggas. They don't care about anything that's not white. Mostly because everything is already catered to them. Why would they give a fuck if anything gets representation at all? All white. I mean, that's just kind of what happens when you try and get to a culture whose foundation is of socially inept white dorks. Niggas are gonna get hated on everywhere they go. That's just how it is. But I mean, am I gonna let that stop me? Fucking.
Black nerd culture has come so far because it's already hard being black, and it was already hard being a nerd. And then niggas take both of those fucking communities, mash them together, and said fight for your life for a couple of years. You feel me? Like, you know how hard it was growing up in a hood? Feel me? Like, and niggas just don't be vibing what you be talking about. Like, come through. Like, I watch anime. And a lot of y'all was a little too young for this. I grew up in like the golden era, which I would call it, right? Where like everybody starts loving it, and it's becoming more commercial, and it's all over the internet, and it's like, bro, like niggas wasn't even cosplaying like that at the time, bro. Like you would cosplay if you came from like a nice home or a nice area, and you was cool walking. Like you could have walked through 100 and cosplay in like 2006 and 7, bro, and think niggas was not gonna look at you like it was weird, bro. And now like entire conventions of people in New York City specifically, at the very least, in Comic-Con and Anime NYC, and like obviously like in LA and all these different places, but like the big commercial areas where niggas just like see you on a train, like, oh shit, you go to Anime NYC, I fuck with you. Like, but like it's crazy how far it's come, especially being a person of color, because like nigga, I know people of my skin tone could really understand, like, yo, like the growth. If you like anywhere above like 25 years old, you understand. I'm 28, about to be 29. If you're older than me, you definitely understand what it was like. It's crazy, like where we were versus where we are now. And thank God, bro, I'm loving it.
Again, this brother, he hits the nail on the head. Like, I'm much older than 28, obviously, but being young in 05, 06, you know, I was 19, 06, yeah. So yes, I completely understand what he's saying. Like, it was not accepted. Like, you was getting clowned. You was getting clowned from the jump. Like, they was already clowning you, especially where I went to school. They was already clowning you if you took your break or took your lunch, you went to the library to like draw and shit. Like, that's what I did. And that's where a lot of us nerds went some of the time, to just like have our little meetings and talk and draw and like have our little nerd group. So he is spot on, because it was like you were like a social pariah, like a social outcast back then. Like, it's way more acceptable now. Now I'm going to get to the political portion of black representation here in America.
Right now, we are watching the greatest assault on black voter representation that we have seen in generations. We are watching political redlining happening in real time. And by the way, the goal is deeply obvious of what is happening. It is to silence black voters, to suppress black leadership, and to make the pain that we are feeling permanent. We must refuse to live in a society where we allow our freedoms to re-roll back. We cannot and we will not sit quiet while the freedoms that others fought for are being stolen from us in broad daylight, not now and not ever. You are walking into a society where people are intentionally using their power to hurt other people who don't have the same amount of power. We need you in these spaces. We need you in these rooms. We need you to lead with values, with love, unapologetic, and unafraid. The people who carved Sit Looks into a cornerstone in Biddle Hall in 1884 did not put those two words there as a wish. They put those words together as an instruction and as the assignment. Let there be light, and let you all be the ones to make sure that everybody can see it.
So if you've been paying attention, then you understand that the latest Supreme Court ruling, when it was basically dismantling whatever's left of the Voting Rights Act, is trying to destroy black representation. I've done a video on it, done a couple videos on it actually, and people are trying to frame it as they're taking away black voting rights, while they wish they could, and I'm pretty sure they're going to make an effort and an attempt to do so at a future date if none of this shit is stopped. Diluting the black vote, destroying black representation. That's the goal. They don't want it to be any all black districts, even though whites are still in the majority. They have the majority of the districts. They have pretty much all the damn power because it's their system and they designed it that way. But they refuse to even want us to even be able to carve out even a little slice of that pie. They don't want us to have any type of representation when it comes to trying to achieve the levers of power. So we have to stand up and we have to be visible. Not only be visible, but take the fight directly to them in the political sense. And just destroy this whole notion of you think you're going to sweep us under the rug and just cast us aside. That's not going to happen. No matter how hard you've tried, You know, you can keep trying to rig this system because it's your system, but everything comes to an end at some point eventually.
In just the past week, South Carolina Governor Henry McMaster has called for a special session, pushing state lawmakers to draw up a new map ahead of the midterms. That map is expected to eliminate the state's only majority-minority district held by Democratic Congressman James Clyburn. In Louisiana, Senate Republicans have approved a new map that would eliminate one of the state's only 2 majority black congressional districts. The state House is expected to take up that measure next week. And in Tennessee, where Republicans approved a map that breaks apart the district that's home to the majority black city of Memphis. Steve Cohen, the Democratic congressman who served that community for nearly 20 years, has basically been left with no choice but to retire. Think about what all this really means for a moment. The United States was not really a democracy until the creation of the Voting Rights Act. And so it's an open question for many Americans if it is one right now. When you hear Black Americans talk about the loss of representation in a city like Memphis, understand it's not about representation for representation's sake. Like the color of a lawmaker's skin, Congressman Cohen, for example, isn't black. It's about who your representative believes they go to work for and whose problems they believe it is their job to solve. So as the people of Memphis get carved up into various Republican districts, tied in some cases to rural and suburban towns hundreds of miles away from their own neighborhoods, businesses, and schools, who speaks for them? Who will advocate if they're underfunded public schools where in 2022, one of their elementary library ceilings literally collapsed during school hours, injuring 3 staff members and disrupting the rest of the school year? Or, for example, will they have a representative who knows about the fact that the city still has lead pipes that endanger the lives of children in some of the city's oldest neighborhoods? Will they care? And what if there is a case like that of Tyree Nichols again? Will they have someone in Congress who knows the history of that police department, who has the guts to call for investigations and accountability? This is not about symbols or who gets to sit in a certain seat in Congress. It's about who is heard when a hospital loses funding, a flood destroys your home, or a plant pollutes your town. Because this is what representation actually means. When disaster strikes, when rights are threatened, you have someone in power who believes you are worth fighting for.
It's going to have to be this push, and then there's going to have to be this demand. It's not just enough for Democrats to get in office. Are you going to expand the Supreme Court? Are you going to pass the John Lewis Voting Rights Act? You don't have Manchin and Sinema to hide behind anymore. What's the agenda? Not just to turn us out in mass numbers. We need to understand how we're going to end this for once and for all, if that makes sense.
Look, at the end of the day, Democrats, you got to get your shit together. Ain't no more fucking around. Like you said, you either going to expand the Supreme Court so you can start overturning some of this bullshit that these fucking conservatives have put into play, all starting with the Citizens United bullshit when money became speech, which is dumb, because it's like, you do understand who that gives the power to, right? If money becomes speech, right? But that's neither here nor there. You need to be trying to fix the Supreme Court, meaning you need to expand it. You need to start overturning some of this bullshit that they've done. They've been trying to gut every little element of progress that has been made in the 20th century because they don't see it. Well, they do see it, but they don't like progress. And that's what it is at the end of the day. Like Steve Cohen in Tennessee. He was a white man that black people voted in, which kind of kills this notion about, well, black representation. Yes, we do want someone that looks like us and that understands our communities. You could take someone like, I don't know, Tim Scott. Yeah, he may look like us, but he doesn't represent anything that black people stand for. Like, he's not with our tribe. So all skin folk ain't kin folk. That type of shit. At the end of the day, having representation They're doing it in Tennessee. They've gotten rid of the 9th district. You could say they're doing it on political lines. They say they're doing it based on race, meaning they was trying to eliminate that because the Supreme Court said you can't do it based on race. But that's exactly what they did. They got rid of the majority black district. The point I'm trying to make here is it's real simple. Republicans want complete power, complete control. They're power hungry. This whole conservative thinking mindset is corrupting the country. It is. Because to conserve, if you want to conserve something, you don't like progress. You want to keep it the same. So my argument is the conservative ideology of the United States is what's also destroying the United States. Case in point, conservatism is the plague of American society, and a little longer than I anticipated. But make sure if you stayed this long and you actually like the content, actually give it a thumbs up, like seriously, because after I just literally called conservatism a plague, the conservatives and right-leaning people, they are going to be pissed. And they are going to severely downvote this video. So if you agree with my sentiments, if you agree with my position and how I laid out the facts of this video, definitely give it a thumbs up to help the algorithm, because they're going to come out in force to try to suppress. You know, they love suppressing black people. They're going to try to suppress this message from going out. But I'm going to keep trying to create content and push these videos out no matter how much they try to suppress and kill my voice. So yeah, if you rock with it, definitely leave a like and I appreciate it. But how I always end these videos is with like a ray of hope, being optimistic in terms of specifically for us black people. Let's put our differences aside and let's understand that we are not each other's enemy. We aren't. The enemy has convinced us that we are each other's enemy. And that's not the case. That's not true at all. Sure, we may have our disagreements. We may not see eye to eye because we are not a monolith, as you can clearly see. But that does not mean that we need to attack each other. That does not mean that we need to eliminate each other. We need to really start looking at the bigger, more grand picture and understand the little tricks and tactics that they're doing. It's not going to continue to work too much longer because we are waking up. And if we have those numbers and we stay woke, there ain't gonna be nothing that we can't accomplish or achieve, even in this wicked, fucked up system.